Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, look at the amount of material that Black is up. Black is currently up 24 points of material. You have 2 knights, a bishop, and a rook, which all together are 3 plus 3 plus 3, that's 9. 9 plus 5 is 14. 15 points of material. And they have 2 rooks, a queen, all their minor pieces, and 7 of their pawns. Let me see. 1, 2, oh no, this pawn. They have all their pawns. They have all their material. This is ridiculous. Is there a way that you can win or even draw, or I should say draw or even win, as the white pieces? Take a second and see if you could figure it out. Just for context, make sure it's clear. This is A1, which means the pawns are going down the board. These black pawns are menacing. And of course, the white pawn, the only one we have left, is going up the board. That will probably not be of use since we're not going to promote in this puzzle. So this was suggested to me by a Discord user, and I want to thank them for this amazing puzzle. And let's see if you can solve it. So before you do that, let me just quickly encourage you to subscribe. Just remember that half of my income goes to charity, so a simple subscription to you from you helps out so much. It's crazy how a simple free subscription can help charity so much. It makes me so happy. Okay, let's look at the position. So at first glance, it looks kind of hopeless. You have a couple of checks. You have a check here, check there. You can check there, even though it's going to be taken. And it's not clear how you could eventually mate the king. So pretty quickly, you can find that it's not going to be a win. So if I go for a check, maybe knight e4, the king just runs away. And I don't have a good check here. I don't have this check because it's covered. I don't have this check because it's covered. And I can play with the bishop, but then they block. Now I'm getting hit with a fork. And how is this going to work out? It doesn't work out. There's no fancy, sacrifice. I looked into this a little bit thinking maybe there's a way I could sack the rook and do some crazy stuff. It doesn't work, right? Take. This doesn't work because why? Look at this rook. It's fully out in the open. Okay, doesn't work. So knight e4 doesn't work because it looks like the king just runs away. What about any other checking moves? What about bishop g5? So this is just a free knight, right? I like these kinds of moves, and it's important to think about these moves because it really forces the hand of black. In this position, black only has one move, which is to capture. And you might think, is there a way I can coerce the king? I see all these squares covered. This knight is covering these squares. This knight is covering those. The rook's covering these. But I can't cover these right now. So it's not going to be mate. All these are covered except these blue ones. Not really working out. So sacrificing the bishop does not work. And then I thought, like I said, I thought about this rook sacrifice. That doesn't work either. And this other check just gets captured straight away. So what do? Well, here's the whole puzzle. It's a really cool, carousel looking puzzle. Knight g4. Knights are lined up. Now, black has 2 options here. They can either go to g6, which is right here, or they can go to e7. There, e7, right here. There it is. If they go to g6, you just return, you were just at the square, you just return. And they only have one move, which is to go right back. So if you want to repeat with me, that would be a draw. So white would be happy with that because remember, they're down 24 points of material, but that's not going to happen, right? So really, after you make this check, there's only one sensible move for the king, and that is to try to run away. And I want you to just take a moment and see how far you can calculate at this point. See if you can see the route that the king is going to be taking. So we have some checks here. We have a couple. We have a knight check. We have bishop checks. We have some stuff. Rook check. But it turns out these knights are just wild. And this is what I like about this puzzle, and this is what I thought was so cool and why I wanted to show it. So knight check. Where does the king go? The king only has one square. All these squares are blocked off. The king has to go here. Okay, knight check again. Where does the king go? All these are covered, including the square that they're on. They have to go here. Okay, this bishop is not doing anything because of this pin. So, knight check. You can't take this. That's pinned. So now you have to run back to b8. It looks a little scary, right? And you might go, oh, this is mate right here. Ooh, it's not mate. This is covered. If this wasn't here, if you could just move this off the board, that'd be nice, but that's not the way chess works. So you can't check there. Instead, knight d7. And it looks a little scary if you're black. You're kind of walking a tightrope. Okay, look at this. So the king is already running around like crazy. Knight c8. Okay, I'm just checking the king. They only have one square in all these positions. Okay, a6. I can keep the checking streak alive here. Check with the knight. You go back. I can keep doing this. Check. And what do? In this position, where do you go? Well, look. All these squares are blocked. You only have one move. Okay. How do I keep this checking streak alive? One of these two, right? I just told you this one's covered, which means it has to be this one. Check. This bishop coming in clutch. This pawn coming in clutch. These are all taken. Okay. c3. Check again. King d3. Check again. Now, where is this going to go? Where are you going to end up? e2. Now, you don't want to go here. Why not? If I check here, if I check here, what happens? Do you want to take a guess? Does the king go somewhere? Nope. Remember, they're a crazy amount of material. They just sacrifice their material back, and you are lost. So don't do that. Instead, go to the other checking square. This one. Knight c3 check. Okay. King f2. Knight d3 check. Remember, the pawns are going this way, so they can't capture that. Now, where does the king go? Look at this. This is ridiculous. They go back to g3. Knight e4 check. Look at this is ridiculous. Look at how much the kings are around. King g4. Knight e5 check. Where did the king go? And look at this. Does this look familiar to you? Are we getting back into the position we were just in? Does this position look familiar to you at all? This was the position that started the entire puzzle. Right? If I jump back, that was the first position. I just clicked back. And then, let me go to, I showed the queen taking, and now that's the position we were in. So this is actually a draw by repetition. Can you believe this? So let's go a little bit faster now. So the king just got checked. They run away. Check. They run away. Check. They run away. And look at this. This whole cycle is going to repeat itself all over again. And this is going to be a draw because it's just a very long either 50 move rule or a 3 move repetition. But I think the cycle, you can count the cycle. I'm not so sure how many moves it is. But it's either going to be a draw by repetition or a draw by 50 move rule. And it's just incredible. So no matter what you do, you just get checked. You just get checked. And no matter what you do, it's going to be a draw. So shout out to the person who made this amazing puzzle. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. But that is it for the first puzzle. Let's look at the second puzzle. Okay. So in this puzzle, you have a king and a queen on the same diagonal, which is already a little scary, right? If I'm the person playing black, I'm already a little scared. Have some pawns here, and white has a bishop and a knight, and a couple pawns. So as the person playing white, one of the first things you should think is there a way I can get on this diagonal to fork the king and the queen? And if you're thinking that, that means you have good chess instincts. Well, yeah, if you do that now, what's going to happen? They just take it. And then what? You have a check. Does that amount to anything? No. King g4. What are you doing? There's no harm here. You want to check me? That's fine. I just run away. And you're not going to be able to check me forever. It may look like it, but eventually you get out, right? Okay. So let's look at the first move in this position. So the first move in this position, I have a check that I think I should consider right away. And if I make this check, where does the king go? And this is where the crux of the problem kind of begins. If you play king f or knight f3, where does this king go? Well, they can't go here because that's covered, and they can't approach the king because the king is shielding them. So they're only left with one square. Okay, fair enough. Knight e5, check. Okay, now they have a couple of options. They have h4, they have f4, and they have g5. Let's kind of start with the worst move on the board for the black king, which is g5. Now, why is g5 bad? You want to take a guess? Look at this pattern. Does that look familiar to you? Boom. That is a check, and that hurts. Okay. So, of course, white would win that. So, they can't play king g5. Okay. What about king f4? What's wrong with that? Well, it's kind of the same idea, but it's just a little bit longer. So, I play bishop h6, and now this is already looking a little scary because look at these pieces. They're kind of swarming you. So you have to either block with your queen. That's not a good idea. Let me just make sure that's clear. Or you go to king e4. What's wrong with king e4, you might wonder? Well, here's where it's so cool. Look at the way all these pieces are kind of in confluence with one another. d3 check. Now you can't go here. Any of these squares. You can't go here. They have to take the pawn, and what does that do? That creates this condition to get forked again. Bang. And you win this. Even though it might not seem like it, you win this because you have a bishop and a knight, and you should be able to mate with the bishop and a knight. And if I'm being honest, I probably can't do that against a computer. I'd probably break the 50 move rule. But I have in the past, and I got to get better at that. Okay, so you can't play, let's go back. You can't play king f4 or king g5. What about king h4? What's the problem with that, you might wonder? Well, it's just amazing. There are so many cool moves in this position. The move that I think is the coolest is bishop f8. Look at this move. Look at that. How does that feel? If they take it, clearly that's the threat, right? If they take it, you get a fork. And this should be a win, right? Because you're close enough to this pawn, and you have a knight to kind of get the tempo. That's going to be a win. So what if they don't take it after bishop f8? What do they do? Well, what do you suggest? This is kind of the question. If you want to move the queen, somewhere, like I don't know, here. Do you see the threat? Do you see the problem with that? The reason why this move is cool is because that would be mate. Ouch. Look at that. Look at that move. That is sweet. Okay. So you can't do that. What can you do? This is a deep question. What can you do? So after this move, you really don't have anything, because if they make a move like here, like I was saying, what's the threat? Remember, the threat is to check you, and if you take, that's a fork. Look at all the forks that are lurking in this position. It's incredible. And again, this will be a win because this king is close enough. Look at those arrows. There it is. Okay. And I think you have to think in this position, do I capture? Do I not? What is the best move? If you just do nothing, which is maybe, I guess nothing is impossible, but if you play f4 saying, okay, I see this threat. Well, now first I fork the king and the queen, take, and then bang, hit you with the fork. The double. First I fork you with the bishop, and then I fork you with the knight. Ouch. And then again, same thing. That's going to be a win. So I kind of think this puzzle is so cool because if you look at that starting position, you might realize where this is going to go. You already kind of see this pattern in your head. If you're like me and you've done puzzles a lot, you knew it was coming, you just didn't know where. But first, check, and then it all works out depending on where they go. And hopefully, you could have calculated that. Just like the other one where it was all forcing moves, this one is all forcing moves. And particularly, I think I like the way that the double fork, I think that was pretty cool. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoy the content, be sure to like and subscribe. Big shout out to the people in Discord who made these puzzles and who let me use them. I really appreciate that. Got an amazing chess community, and I really appreciate the love. So thank you so much, and until next time, bye.